They're made out of used water bottles.
And
you can throw them in the washing machine. Yeah. Yep. Like this. Used water bottles.
I want to see it. It's the damnedest thing.
I bought 5 pair. I gave 2 of them. I gave one to my daughter.
Thanks, everybody. I will call to order the Nashville MTA board meeting. Appreciate everybody being here today. First thing on the agenda is the approval of the January 24th, 2019 minutes. If I can have a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, man.
I
was asleep at the wheel there.
Based upon all the second and thirds, I'm going to guess there's no comments. Any comments?
I got none.
There being no comments, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Next on our agenda is the public comment section. As you all might recall, you each have 3 minutes. When you get to 2 minutes, I'll notify you that you're down to 1 minute, and at that point, I will tell you when your 3 minutes has concluded. So I will start with Peter O'Connor.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Okay, since I'm the one that's breaking the ice today, okay, let me see, about 30, 40, just a few things that I can mention. I wanted to find out how are we proceeding as far as the extended longer bus hours. I remember hearing you guys talking about that during the previous committee meeting. Also, are we also working on matching the customer service hours for those bus hours? That, and I do have to compliment the efforts on the driver's seatbelt situation. That for some time there were a whole bunch of drivers not wearing seatbelts. I'm starting to notice most of them are doing that. I still catch a few here and there, but most of them are getting back to wearing the seatbelts. And also, drivers still need to tell people shut their music off. Period. Okay. Too many of them, they have their headphones on, but you still hear them blasting all over the bus, so it defeats the purpose of the headphones. So drivers need to tell them to shut their, whatever it is that they're listening to, off. Period. No, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Tracy Bates.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I have a number of things that I want to say, and I'll do it very quickly, so I'm going to do it fast. First one that I've noticed since I've been here since August of last year, riding your buses, some of the most courteous people I've ever met here in Nashville, but there are some very mean, rude, and very discourteous bus drivers. I would note on buses such as the 15 and the 55, they don't think they have to answer our question. As far as where does this stop at? Where do we get off for this business or that business? Their response is, call customer services, I ain't got time. That's one of the biggest things that I have about this. The next thing that I have is that there's a stop located on Murfreesboro Road, right down the road from McDonald's and the Longhorn Steakhouse. It is not duly marked. We are running up and down trying to find a bus stop. Your buses are being courteous by stopping for us. And the stop, I think they're saying now, will be located in front of that Matco. We need a stop sign to tell us that is where that stop is. Also, I am a member of the Veterans Administration, or a veteran, and there's a lady that works there. Yesterday I had on my shirt, and she pulled me aside and said, can I talk to you? And I said, sure. Being a new member of M Crew, I thought it would be important to let you know she fell on one of your buses. She has called your customer service department 8 times in the last 12 weeks. All the customer service says is file a complaint. And she's like, I've filed it. What do I do about it? I can't miss work. I'm a single person that has a job to do, And if I miss work, I don't pay my bills. The woman's shoulder is extremely swollen at this point. What I told her is that I would bring it up in today's meeting, just to let you be aware of what's going on there. The next thing I want to talk about real quick is you talk about funding. You talk about your funding. We need to get out more as writers, as people and go to our legislatures. We need to go to our mayor, Mr. Riley. We need to put him on the hot seat. Because if you take comfortability away from our representatives and make them uncomfortable, then a job gets done. And that is something, and we have a man that's coming to town. His name is John Ray Clemens. I think that man, with his transparency policy, will help us make a better bus ride. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Judith Bassett.
Good afternoon. I'm
Good
so
afternoon.
glad to finally be here. I've been wanting to come for the longest time. Last year, I had the pleasure of being one of the surveyors for MDHA, assessing the resident needs. I'm a resident leader at J.C. Napier Student Apartments, and so I have a number of things saved up, and I'll just say what I can right now without monopolizing the time. But one of my most compelling things that got me here today was it seems so many times I've called to say, why does bus 18, usually it's bus 18, just pass us up at Wharf and Lafayette? That's my neighborhood. We have 4 different bus lines that come there, and I don't know if there's a mentality among the bus drivers that, oh, I don't have to stop because 55 and 15 are coming, but 18 goes to a different place than what the 15 and the 55 does. And when you're a rider, you know, a lot of times you have to carry stuff with you that's heavy, you know, or push a cart to, you know, it's awkward. And, you know, those extra steps do make a difference for a lot of people. So, you know, I don't know what the recourse is. After several times having called, I've learned to get the bus number and say exactly what time, and, you know, it still keeps happening. So I just wanted to bring that up. Also, I want to say I've seen an improvement over one of the things that was top on my list to mention, which is that it's very scary to me as a rider when I have a bus driver that is pulling extra shifts, doing, you know, overtime, and he's sleepy. That's been scary a few times. But I've seen an improvement with that, so I don't know if that's something you've addressed or not, or just coincidentally. There is a bus stop when I was in nurse assistant training school on Murfreesboro, right by Glengarry. When I was getting off across the intersection because of the construction, I almost walked right into a tree branch at eye level. And
You have
okay, and so I mentioned that to the bus driver, and I know probably the city needs to be called to cut that branch, and I don't know if he would have remembered to report it, but it needs to be trimmed. Yeah, I'm excited about the scooters being in Nashville. We're a tourist town. I think they do need to be regulated. I'm glad to see the picture about the scooter lane. I think that's great. And I want to thank you guys for having lowered your rates last year, or this year, well, last summer, right after I did that survey. That was the unanimous thing across the board that was a job preventer for people in the subsidized neighborhoods was cost of transportation. And I also would ask you to consider a family pass, because I know young families that have more than one child and they do not have monthly bus passes for themselves or their children. I don't know why they're not getting access to them from other services, but you know, if there could be something discounted for whole families, that would be a blessing, I'm sure.
Thank you, Ms. Bassett.
Save the rest for next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. James Thomas.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Thomas.
How are y'all doing today?
Good.
My main concern is that drivers still going past the white line when they're at a stoplight, or actually it's probably turning green by then because I have a crosswalk to go across. I got a crosswalk light. Please don't go past that white line because I have issues with that. I've been hit a couple of times, you know, with my bicycle or walking and come close getting hit with a walking do that. And that can be classified like a PTSD type issue. If they stay behind the white line to the customer, goes completely across the crosswalk, it'd be a whole lot better. When they start going past the white line, I'm looking, I'm gonna give you dirty looks. You better not turn my way. On 221, bus number 1908, depart from the station here at 11:30. There's a passenger on the bus playing his music. Driver said nothing, and to me that type of noise that he was playing is disrespectful to a lot of people because we don't listen to garbage like that. Bus stop inbound at Harding and Tampa, they moved the sign. It used to be on a signpost a good 10, 15 feet away from the edge of the street. They've now put on its own post about 2 feet away from the edge of the street, and I ain't about to stand up there by it. We need to do something about it for the safety of passengers. Maybe get in touch with the city about getting a sidewalk in there, maybe. And bus number 847 down here at the bus station, and there's no signage at all on. The marquees were not working. There's no little signage in saying what runway was on, which makes it hard to figure out if you're 50A or 50B. It's in the Bay 19, so what are you? That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Knight. Darius Knight. Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
All right. I first want to start because I initially wasn't going to say anything about this, but just due to the conversation y'all had within the other meeting about going to the council about the budget, there are plenty of ways that you all could actually figure out your budget with actually asking the council within a certain way. You have the best asset possible. Guess what that is? Your customer. So when you go to the council and you're saying, hey, this is what we need, tell them to talk to the customers. Tell them to come down here. Literally make them leave their offices and come down here. It is unfair that the customer and your drivers literally go through different things within a day on a day-to-day basis. It's not fair for this staff to sit here and hear a lot of the comments that they get from both ends, and then you have the people that are sitting in the mayor's office not doing a thing. And then when you call them, they say, oh yeah, we're aware of that, we know what's going on. So literally, I would say to you all, the best thing you could do too is, there's a lot of overlapping routes that kind of do not make any sense, and they have gone back and forth within the last 20 years about combining them, disconnecting the routes, making them separate, then putting them back together, disconnecting them again. Some routes actually need to be connected because they are so close and their ridership is very low. So like I came here on the 36 today. Guess how many people were on there? 2, me and another person. So that is happening literally almost every single time I come to this board meeting on the 36. It's either me and one other person or possibly me and 3 other people. That's not enough people to be on a bus, and then your employees are not even using a bus either. So it's basically served as a connector to Nestor and Maya, but it's pointless. So the other issues that I would say is the 1,800 vehicles with that display sign. Somebody really needs to get back and focus with that, because I honestly believe it's a defect in the signs, because I'm still seeing the line through it. And literally there are a few that signs were just not working at all. And even today I seen one, I didn't get the bus number, but the front display sign wasn't working on it either. So the other issues that I would say is my biggest issue is maintenance. We need working buses that are not breaking down in service Monday through Friday at the Maya Drive facility. We had 4 1,700 buses that are 60 foot that were brought in at the end of 2017 that were taken over to Nestor. And I'm seeing the 4 buses on Route 55. I was told that this was done for school runs. How is that a school run when there's no school there? So literally, we would actually need those buses with those 2 doors because it allows the people on the 56 to get on and off, and it allows for more seats. Whereas the older buses that we're using, the Navies, the 60-foot, they're raggedy, and they keep breaking down every single day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nike. Mr. Bull.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
As y'all know, I'm a frequent rider and got some comments. The route number 4 serves a homeless community. There's an overflow shelter at Shelby Park, and it's a secondary, what I call a secondary route, and they're doing a really good job of handling as many as 240 people at once when they release people at 8 o'clock. They're doing a good job on that. That shelter is designed for 75, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. The buses over the last couple of months, I've noticed have been a lot cleaner. And for somebody who, that's one of my weak points, I salute y'all for that. That's a good move. That's a good move. The Nolensville project, I'm glad to see the presentation. As I noticed the presenter, outbound and inbound Walmart, one bus driver in particular, without any prompting, stated, it's I'm not going to use what he said, it's the rowdiest bus stop in the system. Police presence is picked up, and Walmart, who should have pushed to have those beautiful bus stop shelters put in place when they built the building, has made amends by they've got a private police presence, actually 2 trucks with yellow lights policing that side of the bus stop. High time they went, but they did. That's good. We'll go for it. The Tier 1 and Tier 2 requests, certainly it's a real kick in the teeth to have TDOT and JARC back down or leave completely. Yeah, certainly we need that. We also need a dedicated revenue stream, which, Mr. Obvious there. And also, and I haven't heard this said very much, if WeGo is a family, there needs to be a resolution of the contract with ATU. That's something that's sort of been looming over there, and that needs to be addressed. That needs to be addressed. That's pretty much it. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bull.
Thank you.
Ms. Hanson.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yes. Thank you for the presentation about the Nolensville Road improvements. I just wish they went out further.
Yeah.
I think you all know Dollar General stop.
Yeah.
Now, I would like to compliment on some drivers. There's the driver that drives on Sundays leaving Dollar General at 8:40, and the driver who leaves Nolensville Road at Dollar General at 7 o'clock Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I would like to compliment them. They practically go out of their way to help their customers, especially the ones with physical challenges, so I want to thank them for that. Now, the music was noted by a couple of people, especially early in the morning. I don't want to hear tick, tick, tick coming out of people's headphones, but I've heard people just listening to their phones without the headphones on, not just the phone ringing, but a whole song or a whole video. And so one time somebody was doing that, and then he got on his phone, somebody called him, he answered his phone, spoke in Spanish, and then hung up and then went back to his video. Driver was not saying anything, so I pulled out my phone, turned on my translator, and made it say, please use headphones on the bus, both in English and in Spanish, to drop a hint. What did the bus driver do? He asked me to turn mine down. What? Did he not hear what my phone said? So, I agree with that, you know, do something about the music. Some of us don't want to hear just ticka, 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 or, you know, we're trying to concentrate on our own things. So that's all I can think of right now. There was something else, but it's left my brain. But thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hanson. Mr. McCall, Randall McCall. Mr.
How y'all doing?
Good. How are you? Mr. McCall, I think you may have been out of the room when I said 3 minutes was the limit. Okay.
Well,
I
I haven't got much to say. I just
That's
want
okay.
to reiterate what these people are saying.
Awesome. Thank you.
I thank you for your service here. You're doing a beautiful job, but I mean, it's about the money, right? And this is where the rubber meets the road. These drivers that are passing people up, it drives me crazy because there's a lot of people that just occupy the bus stops that don't ride. And so the deal is the driver says you have to stand out and wave them down. Otherwise, they just let you go. You never heard that?
Yeah. If it says bus stop, they need to stop.
Well, I agree with that. I think that they should stop for at least 30 seconds at every stop because there's people come running. I've seen them actually throw bricks at the bus.
Well, that's dangerous.
Yeah. I see people, because I live with this lady at MDC at Napier, urban housing, put me in over there across the road. Last year, I've been here in Nashville now 2 years. And I spent the first year homeless, camping in the woods, because that's the way I like it. Anyway, the 60 bus, I met the transit board member, a young lady, about 2 days ago, riding the free bus. And I noticed that there's USB ports to power phones and stuff. That's very cool. And the Wi-Fi, you got Wi-Fi too now, right? And but the customer service, these drivers need some sensitivity training, and they need it bad. There's some very good drivers. I got some love there. There are very good drivers you have. The only other thing I would add is why can't you extend service instead of dressing up putting lipstick on the pig and put the money in the drivers, give them more money, give them more buses, reinforce what you got. Don't worry about the rail system. I mean, that might be a good thing down the road. Get it side pocketed or something. I don't know. What do you call that? Pork.
It's definitely on the side pocket.
Yes, sir. Well, it's going to get dead. I mean, every major city has it. Anyway, thank you all, and that's all I got to say.
Thank you for being here. Those are all of the public comment forms I have. If someone else has a public comment, hasn't given me their form, please feel free to come forward if there's any more public comments. Anyone else?
Can I take an extra turn?
No, you can't get an extra turn. Get one shot at the apple. And you went over a little too, so you took 30 seconds of Mr. Bull's today, and that's okay. So, because you're a newbie, and we want you to come back. But anybody else? If that's it, that closes the public comments today, and I will turn this over to Mr. Searcy, Chair of Operations and Finance Committee.
All right. Op and Finance has one action item. Thank you very much, sir. The committee recommends to the board to give Steve the authority to enter into a contract amendment to exercise the additional 5-year contract option with Stanford Electric not to exceed $419,021 through August 30, 2021. And I therefore recommend, with my committee members' permission, recommend that to the board for its consideration.
And that it is a recommendation of the committee. A second is not required. Is there any further discussion? There being no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. We will have this contract. Okay. Anything further from your committee that you want to share with us?
Not I.
Okay.
Anna, you have anything?
Well, except that I really enjoy serving with my partner, Walter.
Well, I'm glad that
be in
you
the
all
middle
both
of this
enjoy serving.
Enjoy.
Because what a wonderful organization to serve for. I couldn't say more about that. Ms. Miller, new initiatives.
Okay.
Nice.
The NICE committee had had 3 good discussions. We did not have any action items. I would say that a lot of good discussion around the baseline budget that Ed has been working so hard on, and we talked quite a bit about the best way to present it in order to receive maximum funding, I guess, if that's the best way to say it. And I was really, I love hearing the public comments, and it makes me happy to see that so many of the things that were mentioned in the public comments are in this list, including the extending customer care hours, which I know we've talked about. So we're going to keep refining this, keep working on this, but hopefully we'll get to a place where we can receive additional funds this year, not just to make up for the TDOT funds, but also to initiate some of these much needed new service improvements. So we're optimistic about that. That also led into a discussion. Metro has a blue ribbon committee. You all know I love blue ribbon committees. But they have asked for each department of Metro to come back with ideas for new revenues, cost avoidances, and cost savings ideas. And I think Ed and the team have done a really good job of brainstorming some solutions. We discussed each of the ideas and sort of prioritized them. But I think overarching, we just want to be sure that we don't recommend something that's really going to hurt the customers. And that is our overarching thinking on that. So feel good about Ed proceeding on that front. And then there is some great work going on down Knowlesville Road that Lydia Benda gave us a great presentation about. So lots of stop improvements. We wish we could wave a magic wand and have them there tomorrow, but fortunately the plan's in place and construction will start this summer. So that's a positive improvement. And I think that is pretty much the summary of the report. What I missed, Glenn?
Nothing, if you don't mind, I'll say a couple words, just try to reiterate her comments that we really do enjoy, and it's very valuable, the time that the public takes and riders that come here today and bring things to our attention. We really do, and I can tell you this entire board really appreciates that and takes it seriously. And I even see Steve over here taking all the notes, and I know, from some examples that he actually, follows those up in detail, and we really try to do everything we can. And one of the members brought up that, absolutely, I mean, if you can advocate, whether it be to your council person or to whoever, about, the good work that this committee does and trying to service all that we can. I mean, it all comes down to managing the resources and trying to do all that we can. If we had all the amount of money, we could do all those things, but we don't. So we have to try to do those as we can. And so, I really do appreciate it.
So I think that was our NICE committee. Thank you, Glenn.
Well, thank you, NICE committee. I appreciate
I like being
that.
a NICE committee.
NICE
It's
committee
better
was
than the
nice.
meanie committee.
Well, I think I'm trying to come up with an acronym for mean that would be meaningful.
Thank
But
I haven't come up with it yet.
How about the meaningful committee?
There you go.
All new names, all new names. I don't have a lot for my chair, but I will echo the sentiments of my board members that I do think being able to have this opportunity to have a nice committee that does engage us with the community, that does engage us with the issues that the community are confronting as it relates to transit, and be able to be problem solvers about that is great to have. And I think today's meeting was just another example of us looking at how we can make the needs versus the budget sort of come together. The information, Ed, that you presented us today as it related to the annual risk assessment gives us one other opportunity to be able to look at how we look at our operations and our finances and make certain we stay secure as we look at that. So grateful for that work that came out, and look forward to more and more iterations of that and how it couples with the other things we do in addition to the budget discussion, which is great. And I think I loved our budget discussion about how we talked about the tiers and maybe, being a better advocate, and to know that we have the community that wants to advocate for us as well. All of this, they just come together. And so it is a meaningful and nice opportunity for us to engage as board members with the staff and with the community as it relates to improving transit. So I really want to say thank you to everybody for the work. We did some great, meaningful things today. Additionally, many of you have been so very kind to me over the last couple of weeks, and I'll never be able to thank you adequately, but your kindness and your generosity of spirit and your love during this very, very difficult time in my life means so very much to me. And when I really get it together enough to write notes, I will in time. But I thank you all for your heartfelt prayers and thoughts.
Note for the record, this is one of the strongest women on the planet today.
Absolutely.
So we love you.
But I appreciate you. This is like one of my first outings, and what better place to be than some place that I adore and love being. So that being said, Steve, I will turn it over to you for your
I have to follow that.
Yes.
You have no chance. You totally have no chance.
Just adjourn, yeah.
So the first thing I wanted to do was publicly thank and acknowledge everybody at WeGo for something I didn't hear during the public comment process, and I'm grateful that I didn't hear it. This past weekend, with the rain events in Nashville, we were threatened with flooding in Nester again, and anybody who was here in 2010 knows how devastating it was. And literally within a couple of hours, staff, management, union, you name it, worked to completely evacuate that building. I know I sent the members some pictures. It was an eerie sight to see absolutely nothing at the Nester facility. Great cooperation from Metro Water, from Public Works. We relocated a good bit of the operation here, a good bit of the operation to a Metro Water facility adjacent on Lebanon Pike. Obviously, we're grateful to have my facility to get some stuff to high ground. And the goal was, and I can say it was 100% successfully completed, passengers didn't notice. Service was uninterrupted. Finally, when the river started to go down, hopefully for a while, and we were able to return, we did it in a very seamless fashion. I think India said to me at one point, we might have even run better because we had buses closer to town. So my thanks to everyone involved in that effort. It was a huge effort. Nobody will really understand, to come into this building, right where you all are sitting was our dispatch center. So access ride dispatch was here, radio control was here. Just an unbelievable effort that I don't think any of us will fully appreciate. Unfortunately, as I was talking to Scott Potter, director of Metro Water, he said, the way the trends are, probably a good thing that you practice that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because it will likely happen periodically. So my appreciation to everybody involved. Several of us, including Katie Hilder, met with representatives from Ryman Hospitality this past month to talk about possibly better ways of routing our 34 Opry Mills bus through their property, and they were very open to that idea with some improvements. They also shared with us some of the plans you may have read about over the last couple days on their long-term development plans adjacent to their property and potential transit applications. So we're appreciative to Ryman for reaching out and for meeting with us and talking about both short and long-term opportunities that I suspect we'll be hearing quite a bit more about in the coming months and years. We've been partnering with Metro Planning on design charrettes in the Dickerson Pike corridor. Dickerson Pike is a particular focus for Mayor Briley, and doing some visioning with residents of that area to see what that, how that corridor might transform, how transportation, transit, better pedestrian amenities, might evolve in that area. I know we've talked a lot about shelters and stops, and I know Sheila's issues with stops in the Nolensville corridor. Dickerson's one that definitely requires some special attention as well. So you'll hear more about that as we go forward. We're continuing to advance the Clarksville Pike, the North Nashville Transit Center project. Rita's been heavily involved in that. We actually had our meeting earlier today with our Federal Transit Administration partners, brought them up to speed, and they were very encouraging about what we might do to develop and advance that project with their support. So after a bit of, maybe it's timing, I don't know, what the gestation period is, but after, I guess, a bit of a post-referendum mourning, hiatus, whatever you want to call it, we've had a number of groups that have become active in sort of re-energizing the transit dedicated funding mobility conversation. And I personally have participated this past month in meetings, sessions, public engagement forums by Music City Riders United, Transit Now Nashville, the Transit Alliance of Middle Tennessee, and the Greater Nashville Chamber. And all of those groups are sort of re-energizing around whatever, Transit 2.0 or whatever we decide to call it might look like. So I think for riders in the audience, that's an encouraging note of optimism for the future. Speaking of folks who are very supportive and interested in seeing the development of mass transit in our region, we've been actively engaged in BNA, Nashville's International Airport's long-term visioning, but it's hard to imagine. They're in a $1 billion plus expansion right now. They're already planning for the next expansion. And rest assured, even with the defeat of the referendum, they are still planning to incorporate some form of high-capacity transit, as a connection into the airport. And as well as planning, we think about airports as a place we go to catch a plane. They are also tremendous employment centers, and the projection of jobs that they look to be growing out there, over the next 10 to 20 years is pretty incredible. So talking to them, I know, Janet, you were raising the issue earlier about Easy Ride, about how we get airport employees better connected into the system is something that we're talking about as well. I always try to keep you up to speed on RTA, Regional Transportation Authority items. We've got a number of new RTA board members with mayoral elections, so I've done some introductory briefings with the new mayors of Clarksville, Columbia, and Portland. Columbia recently joined the RTA as a member. They're also now looking at having service extended to Columbia, so we're working with the mayor, his staff, and council down there on that. In what I'm sure Ed believes is a perpetual audit, the Office of State Comptroller is now back to do their sunset legislation performance audit of the RTA, so I can look forward to going back to the legislature next year and see how that goes. This affects WeGo as well as the RTA, but frankly the impact could have been potentially larger on the Music City Star. As you all know, the NFL draft is coming to Nashville in April, and so far, I'm going to say I'll hold my breath a little bit, the jury's still out, but thanks particularly to Katie Hildreth of our staff, and frankly some terrific advocacy from both the mayor's office and from Butch Spirit and the Convention and Visitors Corporation. My worst fears about the impact of that event might not be realized, so a lot of folks are working to maintain service continuity. So I would say to riders, yeah, there are advocates out there trying to make sure that our service remains continuous, and stay tuned on detail for that. Speaking of WeGo, Purple, RTA's had an ad hoc branding and marketing committee, and they will be recommending in March to the RTA board that the RTA branding kind of move in the WeGo direction. So more purple, more WeGo Star.
You gotta get some purple clothes.
You know, you gotta get some
I
purple
know.
clothes.
Come on, Hannah, we'll go shopping this
Do we get
weekend.
a royalty?
I need to go shopping.
Well, I won't tell you about, they suggested a little bit of a nuance. in the
WeGo.
design change. And I said the only way I can go along with that, it means I'd have to repaint all the new buses we just got, so we can get the RTA board to go along with about a $700,000 line item, so that would sort of dot on the line. You can expect to see a bit more of that, you know, in the coming months. And we're also working with the city of Mount Juliet to expand the park and ride location at that station, which is consistently over capacity. And then finally, what I'd close with is from a staff perspective, Gail, kind of echoing Janet's comments, you know, just heartbroken. When we heard about David, but I guess the good news in all that, when you read more about a person's life that you thought you knew a lot about.
So impressive.
What an amazing legacy. You know, what an amazing life lived.
We were
So,
blessed.
you know, he realized what I think most of us would hope. If any of us could accomplish a tenth of what he did in his life, it would be a life well lived. So I know you know this, but please understand you have all of our love, help, support, prayers, anything you need. So anything that we can do, please let us know.
Well, I appreciate, and I do still need the prayers. It's a daily journey.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else for the good of the business? If not, then we
I would say hug a driver.
hug a driver.
Hug a driver. Yes.
Hug a driver.
No hugging. No touching.
High five. Wave.
Talk to a driver.
Oh, just say thank you.
Just say thank you.
Thank a driver.
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 Okay. We are adjourned. Thank a driver.